Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Today I want to talk about this album. The album is titled Riding a Black Unicorn Down the Side of an Erupting Volcano While Drinking from a Chalice Filled with the Laughter of Small Children. That is the name of this album. I have to tell you people that I bought this album based on the title alone. I don't remember, because I've had this album for several years now, but I was probably looking up something about steampunk online, and this popped across my feed. And like, I don't care. I need to have this album in my collection solely from the title alone. Riding a Black Unicorn Down the Side of an Erupting Volcano While Drinking from a Chalice Filled with the Laughter of Small Children. It is frequently shortened to Riding a Black Unicorn, for reasons which should seem obvious, because that's a mouthful, but damn, is that a title. It is the only album I own by Aurelio Voltaire. It is his 8th studio album. I'm tempted to buy some of his other stuff. I haven't gotten around to it. I'm not sure if I ever will, considering how long my to-buy list for music is. But it looks interesting. I did some research on the character himself. He initially was just going by Voltaire, which is actually his middle name. But it turns out that there was like a German band by that name. There's some kind of synth pop band by that name. It's just like, Aurelio Voltaire just keeps it simple. This is the album where he started officially going by Aurelio Voltaire instead of just Voltaire, just to clear up any confusion. The music itself is called dark cabaret, I think, is the genre that I've seen used, especially compared to reference this album. And I can see how, because I couldn't classify it when I was trying to think of it. I had to go looking up and researching and stuff. And yeah, dark cabaret does fit. It's definitely not rock. It has, when I was listening to the music prior to doing this, I was thinking more like jazz, because there's definitely a string section and a horn section. There is some guitars, some drums, but it's more, it has that jazz, and cabaret does have kind of a jazzy feel to it. And yeah, this is kind of like a dark goth, has that kind of jazzy cabaret feel to it. Voltaire is somewhat considered steampunk, mostly from the content of his lyrics. As I've said in other reviews of steampunk bands, the genre itself is very broad. It doesn't really encompass a type of music as opposed to a style, an aesthetic. The musical stylings of steampunk vary widely from band to band. It's more the aesthetic that they're going for, the topics that they cover in their songs, and the way in which they go about it, or in which they describe it, has that certain Victorian era feel to it. And this definitely does fall into that category. It certainly does feel like it's got more of a goth influence, I guess, or the artist himself has more of a goth influence. I found that the artist is originally born in Cuba. His father died when he was an infant, and his mother remarried and they moved to America. And he mostly resides in New York City. Interesting character. He got his start. He taught himself to do stop motion animation. He has done some animation work. He's done some directing. He wrote a couple of songs for the children's cartoon Billy and Mandy, which surprised me. That's actually what prompted me to want to maybe go out and buy some of his other stuff. The knowledge that, because one of the songs he wrote for the show is on an album of his. As far as going back to this album again, a lot of it from a cabaret style. A lot of this is more poetry put to music. He doesn't have much. There's not necessarily a lot of singing, I would say. Not that he doesn't sing, but it feels more like spoken poetry set to jazz music. Not that that's a bad thing. It is, again, somewhat outside my wheelhouse as a history of singers in my family. I do tend to gravitate more towards things that are more lyrical and more, song oriented, vocally oriented. But I find that the lyrics themselves are interesting enough to keep me entertained, which at the end of the day is all I really want from my music, is to be entertained. I just tend to be more passionate about certain things. This is an album that I think is fun, but it is certainly not for everybody. And I think it's because of the way in which he goes about his storytelling, because that's really what his songs are. I mean, granted, that's what most songs are anyway, but these feel more like stories he is telling with music as a backdrop. Like I said, this is more poetry set to music than music itself. And again, not a bad thing. I'm just trying to explain what this album is, or trying to, because his stuff is different. I'm not sure if it weren't for that title that I would ever have bought this album. I'm glad I did. I really like the cover art too. I don't know if you can see it all that well in the image behind me, but it is, a guy in a leather jacket and a top hat with a guitar on his back, holding up a chalice, riding a black demonic unicorn. And on the back cover is a volcano. The album cover art lives up to its name. But yeah, songs like, there is a song, Riding a Black Unicorn is the title song. Innocent. I believe the song Innocent was written as like an anti-bullying song. He does mention on his social media that he was bullied as a child. The Mechanical Girl, very steampunk themed. Straight Razor Cabaret, Don't Go by the River, The Dirtiest Song That Ain't. Cat House Tragedy, Oh Lord Wake the Dead, When the Circus Comes to Town. Those are the 9 songs on the album. I would recommend, if you're going to listen to this, go on YouTube and find The Mechanical Girl. I would recommend that one because that gives you a better feel about what his style is. I think it's a good introduction to his style. Interesting song, interesting story behind with the song. I don't know about behind it, why he wrote it. But I would recommend starting there and seeing if that fits your style, because like I said, this is definitely a thing for people. What type of people, I can't say, because it's not really gothic. Goth is generally considered more solemn. And his music has more like a cabaret, upbeat feel to it, as far as the way in which the music is presented. The background music is presented. The lyrics might be a bit dark, but the music itself is upbeat and peppy. So it doesn't feel very gothic in that respect. So it's this odd mixture of things that I happen to like. I hope you like it too. I'm sorry, I got sucked in a piece of lint. So that's the album. Aurelio Voltaire, riding a black unicorn down the side of an erupting volcano while drinking from a chalice filled with the laughter of small children. Oh, one last thing. He actually got the title of the song because that's something someone wrote on his Facebook page. Someone wrote on his Facebook page, "Listening to your music is like riding down an erupting volcano on a black unicorn while drinking from a chalice filled with the laughter of small children." Or drinking from a goblet filled with the laughter of small children. And he changed the goblet to chalice. But he was like, he saw that written on his Facebook page and said, "I'm going to make that the name of my next album." And he did. And just for the title alone, I bought this damn thing. And I'm glad I did. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, Good hunting.